I'm your host, Eric Jackson, and we're back for a new episode. I'm thrilled to be joined by a special guest, one of New York's finest, former NBA All Star turned entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Jamal Mashburn. Jamal, how's life treating you?
Life's treating me well, enjoying life after basketball in the business world, and really thriving in it. And it's kind of like, for me, an extension of my professional basketball career. I was competitive. I wanted to learn, be a sponge, and also wanted to jump levels as well, and increase my skill set. And I think I've managed to do that and will continue to be a lifelong learner in the space because, you never quit learning. You never quit trying. You just keep on pushing.
Yeah, man, no doubt, for sure. And before we get into that, Jamal, as you know, what time it is? It's March Madness season.
Yeah.
How do you like your Kentucky Wildcats' chances of making a run in this year's tournament?
You know what? Anything's possible in the NCAA tournament. And when you have a school like Kentucky, who's well battle tested in the SEC, has a Hall of Fame coach in John Calipari, he always gets his players ready to play. I've been following it from afar. I've been busy, watching my son play at the University of New Mexico. So I think people will understand where my allegiance lies right now. It's with him. But, Kentucky is not only a school that produces excellent basketball players and excellent young men. I think they're also have a fan base that the NCAA also loves because it's a business. And the University of Kentucky basketball fan base, they will travel. And as a guy that's been in the hospitality business, it's all about heads in the bed at the end of the day. You know what I mean? When you talk about these events, and they spend money when they travel, they support their team, merchandise, all the way down to follow them all the way to Hawaii and different places. So wow. I think the NCAA really likes to have a competitive University of Kentucky basketball team.
No doubt, man. No doubt. And you obviously went on to have a strong career in the NBA. After your playing days in Lexington, you transitioned smoothly from basketball into entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. You've owned dozens of Papa John's, Outback Steakhouses, Dunkin Donuts, and others nationwide. What was it about the franchising business, Jamal, that made you very interested in diving?
Well, for me, I started out with Outback Steakhouse, and I was a limited partner in that particular space. I got to know the founder, Chris Sullivan, very well, and that was through a relationship with Coach Pitino at the University of Kentucky. He's one of the three founders, and he got wind that I wanted to carry a briefcase and really understood my story and wanted to meet me. And he said, "Do you want to participate?" I said, "Yeah." And then, as you know, when that happens, you start to get deal flow within that space. And everybody thought I really loved restaurants and different things like that. It's not that I love it. I enjoy business, but I was also opportunistic in my approach and who's starting what and what the importance of the operator is. And so I built an operating team along with me and my business partner. And we were actually doing this while I started playing. My first investment in the Outback, I think, was in 1993, 94, I believe. And I got drafted in that year as well. I had the luxury of signing a lucrative FILA contract, sneaker contract, that gave me capital and also gave me patience to wait on the contract that I wanted from the Dallas Mavericks. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was always smart and very strategic in how I looked at it. And I always come from a position of being a good teammate and being around people who want to share information to give me greater insight into what I'm looking at.
I know. You mentioned, you started getting on this journey early in your pro career. Mm-hmm. And, it's commonplace now to see former and current pro athletes making waves in the business community, but you seem a bit ahead of your time. What other athletes sort of inspired you to maybe become an entrepreneur, or was it an athlete or maybe someone else? I'm curious where that kind of started for you of wanting to hold a briefcase.
Yeah, so for me, it started in Harlem. Grew up on 159th and 8th Avenue at the Colonial Projects, and my mom put me in a Catholic school in downtown New York City, so I had to take the train and wear a blazer, a tie, and slacks. And I was probably about, I want to say, 11 years old, riding the train when my mother would drop me off, and I would continue to go on a train, on that 6th train, down there towards 72nd Street and Lexington Avenue. And what I started to notice was people wearing a suit and a tie and carrying a briefcase. And I was always curious of what was in it. And then also I had the level of understanding because my dad was a professional boxer. He fought Larry Holmes and Ken Norton in the 70s. And wow. he wound up becoming a special service officer for the NYPD. And I saw how he didn't make the transition very well. So I was always a kid that said, well, how can I utilize that information to be different and not let that information just rest somewhere and not be utilized? So my plan was always that whatever I was going to do professionally, it was going to lead to something that will lead me beyond the projects in New York City. So it was important for me not only to be educated, but also buck the trend of the dumb jock syndrome. You know what I mean? I mean, even to this day, you deal with people that still have that old mindset, and you get into a room and you blow them away, and you go from there. But then you ask them questions: do I really want to be in business with this person with that short level of thinking? You know what I mean? So it works both ways and everything like that. But I've took a lot from my basketball journey, meaning hard work, practice, and it takes a little bit of luck as well. Building relationships, studying, and utilizing your time wisely. I was always the kid that, I was curious about things, curious how things worked, curious how things operate. So I think that curiosity, along with that courage that my mom instilled in me to not be afraid to ask a question, led me to where I'm at today and to be unafraid. But so it was really growing up in Harlem that gave me a different perspective. And then also my mom challenging me and saying, hey, you got to have something to fall back on. And I also challenged her and said, why not fall forward, rather than fall back, So it was a desire of mine. I think there's a lot of athletes that want to participate in the business world, and they just are doing it basically to satisfy a moment or this is what they should be doing. I suggest to guys, follow your passion. You know what I mean? If you follow your passion while playing basketball, it's going to get you through the dark days. But if you're just following it for superficial means, it's probably not going to sustain itself when times get tough.
The sexy venture or the investment here, or
it's not going to work out well. I mean, you got to be a student of it. You know what I mean? I tell people, a lot of guys who want to chat with me or pick my brain, it's like, I didn't wake up, or you didn't wake up one day and just enter the NBA draft. There was a process that went through it. And you have to approach it in the same regard. I never wanted anything quickly. I always kind of wanted to wait, and see what was there and learn and different things like that. And you look back and you keep your head on the grindstone. You look up, you traveled a long way.
Wow. No, I love that for sure. We were just talking restaurants and franchising, but, when you look at your broader portfolio, Jamal, what other areas of focus are, something that you're really prioritizing?
Well, I got into franchising because I was opportunistic, and we built the management team around those Papa John's stores, which we still have today. But I'm also involved in the car business. I'm a Lexus and Toyota dealer. We have 7 stores throughout the country, and also in the waste management business. We haul trash, and we commercial and residential. I'm looking to grow more in that particular space. It's not a recession proof, but it can be recession resilient. And there's also a lot of M&A activity in that particular space, especially from your Republic Services and waste management and different things like that. So I think there are opportunities to grow there, not just on the hauling side, but eventually get into the transfer stations and possibly, depending upon where things lie, the landfill business, where all the money is really made. And then on the car side, I'm with a great brand. We've operated those stores. Me and my business partner built an operating team. We're in Michigan, Tennessee, Florida, and Kentucky, and looking to expand with Toyota stores and probably buy a domestic one here pretty soon. So I like the business. I've enjoyed the business. I tell people that's where I got my MBA, which is in the car business. It's there's a lot of ways to make money, but there's also a lot of ways to lose money as well. So that's where I cut my teeth and started to understand business, because there's so many avenues, from finance, insurance, to marketing, just parts, labor, all these different things. So to me, it's the car business has been a place where I can spread my wings and be entrepreneurial and understand customer service. And I'm with a great OEM in Toyota. They're ahead of the curve. They're patient, in their thought process, and they're always ahead where everybody else is trying to react. They're more proactive than reactive.
Yeah. No, I love that. Car dealerships, waste management company, restaurant business. You're also on different boards and advisories.
Yeah.
How do you find the time to manage it all, Jamal?
On
top of being a father, right, and supporting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, I've always been curious, and in my space. And I've always looked for opportunities where, just like an athlete, I've always played up when I was a basketball player, played against older people, played above my competition, because I feel like, iron sharpens iron. I'm the one that gets better. So I'm a board member currently of McClatchy. My good friend, Tony Hunter, who ran the Tribune Company out of Chicago, he got wind that I wanted to participate, and we're always talking about corporations and different things of how to grow, and how to be in the corporate side, because I come more for the entrepreneurial side. So he said to me one day, he said, Jamal, I think you'll like the corporate space. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, because you'll be able to find solutions for problems that most of them don't see. And he was right. He was right. I spot opportunities very quickly, because I can see where people are not being entrepreneurial or being lazy. You know what I mean? More than anything, because they have a big corporation around them.
Would you say, Jamal, you've earned more money outside of your NBA career than you did during your NBA career?
Yeah, possibly. I don't let you. For me, I don't. I'm very quiet and very modest. I don't want nobody coming after me, man. Put it like this. One of the things and the objectives that I looked at as far as post NBA career, when I entered the NBA, I automatically thought of my exit. I knew that I only probably wanted to play one contract. I wanted to play in two. And I didn't want to sacrifice the lifestyle that I was leading. So I'm put it like this. I'm not sacrificing a lifestyle that I started, if that makes sense. I didn't have to dial back anything. You know what I mean?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the NBA, Charlotte Hornets, a franchise you know well, recently changed hands. Michael Jordan selling majority ownership stake to Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall. I bring that up to turn it to you. Are you still interested in joining an ownership group one day?
I experimented. I wouldn't say experimented. When David Stern was around, one thing that me and him had a great relationship. He was actually the first person that I went to and shook his hand after I retired from the NBA. And he was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm going to shake your hand on exit." And he was like, I said, "I shook your hand on entry when I went across and grabbed my Dallas Maverick hat. It's just only right that I shake your head on exit." And I sat in the room with him and the deputy commissioner at the time, Russ Granick. And the meeting was supposed to be for an hour. It turned into a 3-hour meeting. They wanted to know exactly what I was doing. And I listed out the things that I participate in and everything like that. And then Russ Granick leans over and says, "Hey, would you want to work for the NBA?" I said, "Nah, I want to eventually become your partner." And David, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "Well, I want to eventually look at owning a team." And David took that information and he said, "Okay." So one day I was in New York, and fast forward probably about another couple years or so. I'm in his office, and I just randomly knock on the door, and he said, "Come on up. Yeah, would love to see you." And he shoots me over the Atlanta Hawks book, because they were selling that team at the time. And I looked at it for about 3 or 4 minutes and pushed it back to him and said, "I'm not interested." And he goes, "Tell me why you're not interested." I said, "Well, I look at that Georgia market, and obviously now it's changed,
right?
Because there are a lot of corporations going into Georgia and different things like that. But at that particular time, I said to him, David, I'm going to be frank with you. If I can buy the college Georgia football team, I would buy that over the Atlanta Hawks." And he was like, "Why?" I said, "Well, that's the environment that we're in. We're still in Georgia. It's a football town. It's an Atlanta Falcon town. Yep. It's a Brave town. The Hawks are an afterthought. And there's so much resources that you're going to have to pour into there and probably get a new arena that I'm not interested." So he got the sense right then and there that I was serious about my approach. And then the opportunity came on board where the Charlotte Hornets, when we moved to New Orleans, and that owner had some financial issues, and the NBA bought the team back. And David was like, "You want to take a look at it?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So I took a look at it, put my strategy together. I presented them with an LOI, and then they took a look at it, and I came in second, which is last, to the Benson family. My bid was $275 at that time, and I think they were $330 or $380. I can't remember, but they're the rightful owners because they could do a lot more with it, and efficiency wise, by sharing some back office with the Saints and different things like that. They already had a customer base, and the thing that attracted me to the Hornets at the time, which is the Pelicans, is that I got a chance to read that lease agreement that they had. and the lease agreement it was 100% pass through if you get the naming rights on the facility to the team. So all I did was say, hey, David, you know what? I'll assume the debt. And my mindset was utilize the naming rights to pay off the debt. So that was kind of the thought process around it. I was looking at it more, how do you cash flow it? But a sports entity these days, depending upon your purchase price, is going to be difficult to cash flow. And it's all on appreciation at the end of the day.
I know. Speaking of appreciation, I don't know. I don't think 275 is going to cut it anymore.
Nah, not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. Nah, you the billions. Yeah, you the billions.
No, definitely, for sure. That's a great point, man.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about business, but I'd be remiss not to chat about something else that's top of mind for you. You've aligned with Box Out Colon Cancer Campaign to spread awareness about colorectal cancer. Jamal, what drove you to be passionate about this issue?
Well, the thing that drove me to be passionate about this issue is I dealt with colon cancer with my mom. She had colon cancer back in 2003, and that was when I became an all-star for the first and only time. So it's almost like you're dealing with great news, and then you get the bad news that your mom is dealing with colon cancer and the impact it has on people's lives. And she was, I think, 50 years old when she got diagnosed with it. And I wish we'd have known about the screening process, because we probably would have been able to avoid some healthcare obstacles such as chemotherapy and different things, because it got to the later stage of things. But that's something that I'm passionate about. And anything that moves forward her legacy, she passed away pre-COVID, I'm all about, and to share my voice, to give insight and perspective on it. And then, I just think people should have that at 45 years old. They should be screened. It's important. It's preventable. And it should be a conversation around, and especially among African-American males, we don't really talk about health that much. Right. But if it's something that we can take care of early and pay for it now, then why not pay for it later? If anybody wants to find out any information, go to colon cancer, boxoutcoloncancer.com, and they can receive more. But it's something that I'm passionate about. I typically gonna do a lot of this stuff because, I don't want to business endorse things. I want to partner with people that have the right core values and that are looking at things the right way, and that also impact and give knowledge to my community and other people as well, that can help save lives.
Love that. Representation's big too, right? Like you said, when you see someone who looks like you, talking about it, I think that goes a long way. So Correct.
100%, Eric.
As we wind down here, Jamal, I just want to ask you, you've had a lot of experiences from owning, car dealerships and different companies and franchising. And, you've also had a sports broadcasting career as an analyst on ESPN. And, when you look over just the totality of everything, what's been the best business lesson you think you've learned over the last decade or two?
It's changed. When I was younger, I thought one way. I think what I've learned now is being patient. I'm at a particular place in my life where I don't have to do a lot of different activities that are, risky. I can control risk and different things like that. So I would say be patient, be thoughtful, and due diligence is critical. Something on the surface might look great, but when you dive into those P&Ls and income statements, it might not appear to what it actually appears to be. But it's the patience part of it. And also, don't always try to hit a home run. It's all right to just get on first base, and then move the runners, what I mean? Different things like that. So
some singles.
Yeah, some singles actually do very well to the portfolio. And then also the way I've also looked at it, this has to be a long-term mindset at the end of the day. And once I got in the business, it evolved into every other areas of my life and how to be more efficient, basically how to trim the fat, as they say. So it's a lifelong learning is one of my pillars, and that's something that I teach my son. Even through the game of basketball, you never quit learning. You never arrive. You're always striving.
Right. Even when you think you've hit the mountaintop, right? I guess there's always room for.
Correct. Always room. And if you don't appear like that, then you'll become a dinosaur. And you know what happened to them? They became extinct.
Love that, man. Yeah. Love that. Well, that's it. From Mr. New York Basketball himself, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Business Beyond the Game. Jamal, appreciate you taking the time, man.
Thank you, my man. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Keep the good work, my friend.